Welcome to our Thursday episode.
And welcome.
We're both on Gadigal land still, which is wonderful. It's nice to be together. This week we have as a very special guest. Her name is Renee Simms, and she is the niece of Lynette Dawson, whose husband has just been convicted of her murder. The podcast, The Teacher's Pet, absolutely riveted the entire world. It still is one of the most downloaded podcasts in the world. Which is incredible. It really struck a chord with so many people. Mm-hmm. While we were on Gogglebox, Renee started to follow us, and I mentioned that I was listening to this incredible podcast by Hedley Thomas with The Australian, and she messaged me straight away and said, I'm the niece of Lynn. And I was like, get out. So we've been talking for 8 years ago now.
2016.
7 years ago. So we've been chatting for that long on our DMs on Instagram. So we have got her on today, and
Can't believe it.
he says, I'm quite nervous, as you are.
It's surreal. It's very surreal. I think because it's one of those things where we can all relate to it to some degree.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things that you don't want to overstep your boundaries because it's still a family at the end of the day. This is not just for our entertainment on a podcast or the articles we're reading or the Instagram posts. This is a real life story, a real life horror.
Yeah.
That it's not a film.
No, that's right.
And it's her
that's
horror.
right.
So to have her here is amazing, but it's also just like, I feel like this is going to be such a interesting chat, but also quite emotional. It's a really hard one to navigate because I feel like she's not a real person, but she is a real person, and this is a real story, and it's not just gossip. Like, this is so hectic. Yeah. And I just want to know if kind of what they want to do from here on out. Do they just want to stop talking about it? Yeah. Do they want to continue to spread the word?
Yes.
So we find all these other missing women that went away.
Exactly.
It's opened up such a platform, and I love Hedley, is that his name?
Yeah. For
this, because he says he specifically loves to talk about women and where all these women men, and I really hope this opens up for more women that have gone missing, especially Indigenous people.
Yes.
I know that there's so many women that have gone missing that we just don't.
And I believe this is the beginning.
Yeah.
The world's changing.
It's finally changing. And the fact that a man did it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go up. But anyway, I'm excited for this chat. So let's get into it, shall we?
Thank you so much for joining us. We are actually really excited, and that's a weird thing to say, but so lovely to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you too.
Can I just ask straight away, how are you?
I think until yesterday I would have said I don't know. I couldn't answer that. I'm starting to feel back to normal. I think things are slowly starting to sink in, but it's taken a good few days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a nurse, aren't you?
I'm a scientist.
Scientist?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Scientist. What do you do?
I essentially take human immune cells and isolate certain ones and then train them to recognise viruses. And then we use those cells to give back to patients who don't have their own immune systems.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Is that like stem cell research?
Yeah, we do use stem cells.
Oh, my God, you're a hero.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's a fun job. It's a fun job.
Double talking podcast episode.
We need to have you back to talk about that kind of stuff.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's a good job. Keeps me busy.
You're out at Westmead Hospital, so you're an actual hero. We love that kind of stuff, so
there you go, a fun fact. Look at us already losing it over that, and we haven't even started to talk about what we want to talk about. But that's also made me think, though, so much of everything that's gone on has really focused on your family as a whole, and obviously the story of what happened to your aunt. Do you ever kind of get that feeling where you're like, oh, nobody really asked me what I do anymore, or you don't get that?
Absolutely not. I'm the most introvert ever. So if I could just, to be fair, most of my job involves being in a basement and just texting people. So it's perfect for me, to be fair. So I'm very happy. The only reason I ended up doing any media at all based around this is just to give my parents a bit of a break.
Right.
Oh, that's nice.
Because it was a lot, and they couldn't actually physically do everything that was requested of them. So that's the only reason I started doing anything.
And how are your parents?
They're doing well. I think they're still in a little bit of shock. They don't live in Sydney, so I haven't seen them for a couple of days. But we've been in contact. I'm hoping that they'll be slowly getting back to normal too.
Wow. So talk to us about the day.
Oh, the day was so nerve-wracking. I have a beautiful friend who came to my house and did my makeup because I cannot do that. And we sort of had a bit of a chat and she was like, how are you? And I said, we're not even going to talk about it. Like, I just can't. Luckily, I was able to sneak into the court without anyone recognising me, which was so nice.
Yeah.
And then just upstairs once we actually got into the court, we didn't know how the day was going to go. We didn't know if it was going to be 5 minutes or 5 hours as it ended up being. So we were sitting there just so tense the whole time, not knowing, whether a verdict was just around the corner. So for the first few hours, we're thinking, oh, this is great, this is positive. And then you were watching the live stream, as you know, it then just all of this stuff started happening and we're thinking, oh, maybe this isn't going to be as positive as we hoped it would be. So, it was quite a day, to be fair. And then when the guilty verdict actually came, I think we were all just incredibly shocked.
What was your mum and dad like? Like, how did you react?
So my dad was sitting next to me, and I had noticed, I think I'd started tuning out the words and maybe not necessarily paying as much attention as I probably should have been. I don't remember what he said. I have since watched it back, so I know. But I saw his assistant get up and walk into the court, and through the whole court procedure, she has never come into the court. She's only ever walked out the back door behind the judge. And I saw her come into the court and I thought, this is odd. Something weird is going on here. And she was going out the door of the court to get the prison officers to tell them that they had to be ready to come in to arrest Chris.
Holy shit.
And so I'd watched her leave and I elbowed my dad because he was sitting next to me and I was like, Dad, look. And he was too busy focused on the judge and didn't really hear me. And as soon as the word guilty was said, those prison officers came straight in, cuffs out, cuffs on, and he was gone.
It's like off the movies.
It was so quick.
Yeah.
It was so quick. And the whole time my dad, like in the last little spiel, my dad had his hand on my knee and he was just squeezing tighter and tighter and tighter. And I could hear him breathing really heavily and my heart was pounding.
Yeah.
And the room it was deadly silent, but there was just so much noise in my head. It was such a strange situation. And then as soon as the word guilty was said, I heard my dad go, oh, and just breathe out. And we just were just shocked. Yeah, it was such a weird situation.
Were there tears?
Not from me, from some other people in the room, absolutely. Dad said he had a bit of a cry. I think I just sat there shocked for quite some time. And after the process, they then just went into a bit of legal argument.
Yeah.
So Chris was still being led out of the room and the judge was like, okay, well, now we need to sort out this and this.
Yeah.
So we're just sitting there going, what did we just witness? And the judges and the lawyers are just going about their job.
Yeah, because I was watching that live and I could only see the judge. And I'm like, oh, he's just going, because Chris stood up.
Yes. And he never wasn't told to.
No, he just stood up on his own. So that for me was really heavy, the way he said it. I thought, why? Like, had I missed the bit where he said, all rise? Or
he
someone
didn't.
said all rise? But he just stood up on his own.
No. So I think I've heard a couple of things. I think his lawyer may have turned around and said to him, you need to stand.
Right.
Right as he was giving the formal judgment, I guess. Right. But then his brother grabbed the back of his suit to pull him down when he said you can sit. But then the prison officers came in so quickly. I don't know whether sitting was worth it.
Yeah, you have
to go now.
Maybe that was just his initial reaction. You know, when you hear something like that, what would you do as a human?
Yeah.
Your reaction would be just, well, we would never know.
No.
And also that we are so used to seeing court drama acted out with music in the background, and that's what him talking the legalities and things like that. Normally, it would have a cut to another scene.
Yeah.
So that the reality of it was so real. This is what I think, that he assumed you stand up during
Possibly.
that, because that's what happens in courtroom dramas and movies and things like that. But I want to also ask you, what was the room like? How many people were in there from your family? How was the seating arrangement?
Okay, so there was a sign on the door that said, because of COVID restrictions, no more than 42 people in that room. So that had to include the judge and everyone that, had to be there, all the lawyers, and I suppose I should call them solicitors, barristers, official people needed to be there.
Law people.
Yeah, exactly. And then there were just 3 rows of seats at the back of the court. So our family and quite a few journalists from The Australian were in that front row. The second row, I think it was a lot of media, and then the back row were quite a few of the Dawson family, who had attended none of the rest of the court proceedings but had decided to come for the verdict day.
Right.
I wasn't necessarily aware that they were there, which is probably good.
Yeah. Do you know which part of the family were there?
Yes, his twin brother Paul was present, his wife Marilyn, and we think also a couple of Peter, his lawyer brother's wives, like an ex-wife and a wife.
Do the families over the years, have they ever really spoken, or was it just so no?
Yeah, because I wasn't born back when all this happened, I don't know if there was ever really a closeness between, say, my side of the family and the Dawson side of the family. And once Lynn went, there was no need. No connection, yeah.
But you knew your cousins.
Yes.
Do you remember hanging out with Chris?
No, I have one memory of him from childhood, and that is being at my nana's house, and she lived in Clovelly in Sydney, and standing in her front yard, and Chris had come to drop the girls off, but he wouldn't come anywhere near the house. So I have a memory of him standing on the far corner of the street and just watching the girls come into us. He wouldn't come anywhere near the house.
And when you were in court, did you ever lock eyes with him?
I didn't personally. He would walk straight past us on most days.
Can I ask what his demeanour was like?
Yeah, he just seemed to not really know who any of us were.
Right.
And I would expect that for me, like we've never met, but he was my dad's best man. And
Was he?
He was.
Wow.
He was. And he just blanked him. So they did lock eyes, and Dad said it was just like he was looking through him. There was nothing there.
And they, back in the day, just believed and trusted him saying that Lynn had gone missing.
They did. It's like if you think about someone who your family completely treasures and they tell you something, you're going to take that at face value. Absolutely. And that's exactly what happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You never believe that there's foul play.
Yeah.
In any of your family.
Yep.
It's the last thing you'd think.
But deep down, surely with your dad and grandparent, would be your grandparents, they would have that feeling. They would have always had that feeling that she wouldn't just have disappeared the way he said that she did.
Yeah, there was definitely that feeling, but I guess they were also being told that she was making contact. And, one of the really cruel things is that he was telling my nan that, oh, she's called me. She's going to call you on Wednesday.
Oh, no.
And so she would stay at home all day waiting for the phone call, and it wouldn't come.
Yeah.
You were telling me that you were baking
Yes.
throughout the trial.
Yes. I started baking. I was attending the trial most days, and I started baking just as a way to, I guess, show my appreciation for those people who were fighting for Lynn. So not only the legal team, but there were people coming to court who, say, had gone to high school with Lynn, and they were making sure that there was a representative from that group in the court every single day. So it was just a nice little way to kind of bring us all together. So on verdict day, I wanted to make something extra special. So I whenever we would go and visit my nan, she would have these biscuits that she would call her Chocky Rocks. So I just made a big batch of those for verdict day. It was it was just a way to have her there.
Brought them in today for us.
I did. I've bought you a little
Thank
sample.
you.
Did
That's
you?
right, I did.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, bless your heart. That's so nice.
You can't eat them. They're not
No,
I'm
so
I'm
sorry.
going to eat yours. for
Yeah,
you.
that's all right. It's still the thought. That's
I
beautiful.
think that's lovely, and you felt that your nan was there.
Yeah, it was just
This
a
is
little way to
something-
have her there.
yeah.
This is something for her that she never got to see.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
How do you feel about his last 40 years of freedom?
I think that, it has taken us 40 years to get here. But I also think that, I wonder if we would have got here if it had come to blows a little earlier.
Yeah.
Blows probably not the right word, but because just given how far the world has come in the last 5 years with Me Too and everything like that, there's so much more understanding about, I guess, behaviour in intimate relationships and those sorts of things, which mean that we were able to get as far as we were able to get
Yes.
in this court case. Whereas if it had happened even 10 years ago, I'm not sure that it would have come to this outcome.
God, there's so much in it all, isn't there? And during that time when the podcast Teacher's Pet, Teacher's Trial came out, was there any time that, particularly your dad, being Lynette's
Brother?
brother,
Yeah.
that he ever wanted he never reached out to Chris himself or ever, to me, if putting myself into a situation like that,
Yep.
I wouldn't be able to help myself, You'd want to just go there and be like, what have you done? Did he never want
My
to do
dad's
that?
such a gentleman. I can't imagine him willingly going into a confrontation like that.
Yeah.
And I think also given, we did still have a relationship with one of his daughters. He wouldn't have done that to her.
Yeah.
Wow.
I find it so weird that a father wouldn't tell his children that to me, that's so emotional, that where their mother is. That's what gets me the most.
Yeah.
That's just a different breed of human.
Well, instead he told them that she'd walked out because she didn't love them.
yeah, you can't. That's
So they're so,
Imagine
they're
the
so damaged,
Damage.
Yeah.
I don't blame either of them for how they have reacted to absolutely any of them. How do you feel now that he's potentially going to die in jail?
I don't really think about it. As far as I'm concerned, he doesn't really exist.
Okay.
The trial was we never went into the trial to get a conviction, I suppose. We went in because we wanted the truth about Lynn to come out.
Yep.
So we wanted it known that she wouldn't just walk out on her family, that she wouldn't have voluntarily left. And so to see, I know realistically we knew an arrest was possible at the end of all of this, but I think to actually witness that was really confronting. And probably something that maybe we hadn't necessarily thought all the way through until it was actually happening.
Reality.
Yeah.
It's a heavy thing.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So is that a part of you that doesn't want to kind of think about that? 'Cause you all seem like a really kind.
I know.
Yeah,
You've been through so much.
Yeah,
and
I think we had we just wanted to clear Lynn's name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
do you think that Chris will ever admit to it and say where Lynn might?
No,
he did- you
I
don't-
don't
you
think
think
that's
he
a
would, is
realistic
it?
possibility at all.
There was a petition that we signed
Yes.
this week to change the law in New South Wales that you can't have parole unless you say where a body is.
Correct. Yep.
I can't believe that's not a law.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Do you think that might work?
I guess there's no way to know unless it comes into effect and that carrot is dangled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these grooming men that was going on the northern beaches and probably so many other places.
Yeah,
Like
not
my
just the northern
cousins-
beaches.
My cousins went to school where he was the teacher.
Did they?
And I have a friend who was also of their year, and she has said, she's so traumatised by what she knew.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, I mean, obviously we've got a good result with the verdict, but just to start bringing these kind of grooming revelations out and, that start to be really looked at, and there hopefully are so many other stories that can be rectified before it's too late.
I hope so. Yeah.
Wow. So what's next for you and the family?
Yeah.
Well, I think initially, because, you know, we can't just let it rest, we're definitely going to jump on this nobody, no parole law and try and push for that really hard.
Oh, if there's anything we can do to help but to find her would just be that extra putting her to rest.
Exactly. So I say this is like the end of a chapter, but we can't close the book yet.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that would just be, I mean, none of it is a perfect ending at all. None of this should have happened, but to be able to bring her home and lay her to rest and have that closure and funeral that she deserves and your family deserves would just be.
That would be the ultimate.
That would be the ultimate. I hope that.
And you know what?
Comes from
there's so many people that hope this around the world.
That love that you must feel from such a obviously horrific situation, but it's almost as if like we've gotten to know you all in a way that it's like you become so protective. It's like we know someone that's been through not something similar, but it's like, you're our family.
We feel that is exactly how we feel. So
protective, and we want you to have that ending and that closure and that love. Oh, it's just it's hard to explain, isn't it?
It's like,
it's like real life watching something that is so close to home.
Yes,
and I can't believe people actually go through it.
Yeah. And it's strange because I don't know any different. Do you know what I mean? Like people are going, that's such a hard thing to go through, and I sit there and I think, well, I don't know any different.
That's your normal.
Your whole life. Yeah. Do you think that you'll see like a shift in a way in your dad, particularly with that being his blood? That have you noticed there's like a weight lifted off his shoulders? I guess it's too soon. It's only been a week.
No, it's not. Even on verdict night, he did just seem so much more relaxed. In a way that he probably hasn't been in quite some time.
I hope it's okay to share this. You sent me such a beautiful, intimate photo of your family cheersing to Lynn. It really broke me. Like, it was a real thing, and that was such a private moment. Thank you for sharing that with me. Just to see your dad holding a glass and you were all holding. I could only see your dad in the photo, and you said, I'm going to post this later, but right now we're cheersing to Lynn.
Oh, I got goosebumps.
Yeah, it gave me goosebumps. And you also said something in those messages to me that there was no joy for any of you in this.
No, it wasn't a celebration at all. It was more a recognition of Lynn's life.
Yep.
That's all that was that evening.
Yeah.
Knowing that she didn't just run away and that her life was taken. She would never do that.
Yeah, and I think we knew that all along, but it was just having that vindicated.
Yes, it is. Renee, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For being here and coming in and taking time out of, your busy life to do this. We really appreciate you.
It's nice to be here.
Yeah.
And we're really glad with that outcome, and we will hope against hope that there is another outcome to come.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you so much. Wow. Well, that was beautiful. I feel that when you have somebody like that to speak to, you want to ask all the questions, but you don't want to be like that. Oh, what about this? And how do you feel? You want to do it in a way that's she's been through so much. And her
how lovely was she?
She's so lovely.
And the way she said, just, ask me anything. Like, just, intrude.
But they're so kind. And it goes to show that everybody's so different. Like, you never know how you're going to handle a situation until you're in it. But God, I wouldn't be that nice.
I would want to cut a bitch. Like, honestly.
I don't know how they've kept themselves like
they're
that.
Classy.
Yeah, they're classy.
All class.
That's exactly it.
Oh, we just can't thank Renee enough for coming in, and we know that all of you listening would have gotten so much out of that the way we did as well. So we really hope that you're glad we got to her. We just absolutely loved having her here. Next Tuesday we'll be in your ear holes again. We won't be so serious.
No, not so serious.
But you can get in touch. Please don't forget to rate and review, especially after that episode. Rate and review 5 stars only. You can get in touch with us on email, 2girls@novaentertainment.com.au, or slide into Angie's DMs.
Yep, I'm always here to have a little chat or block you. I'd just like to say, have the day you deserve, and we love you. God bless.
Oh, stop it.